Adam Collins and Geoff Lemon here for All Out Cricket, powered by Kookaburra Cricket at the end of this magnificent test match here at the MCG behind us. Australia somehow miraculously winning by an innings and 18 runs after Pakistan made 443 for 9 declared, and Australia was still batting on day 5 in their first innings. Jeff, what's going on?
Wasn't supposed to happen. Didn't think it was going to happen. Said it wasn't going to happen. Well, about halfway through day 1, draw. And then it happened. But a lot of things that are not supposed to happen when Pakistan's playing. And they happen when Mitchell Starc's bowling, and the way he finished off this test match is something that he'll treasure for the rest of his life.
141 overs were lost to rain all told. Pakistan batted first, and they did a fine job. Azhar Ali made a double century, confirming his place as the inform opener on the planet. He was not out at the end of the innings, batting the whole way through, ably supported there by Asad Shafiq, who did so well in the first innings. And Sohail Khan, Jeff, wasn't a bad performance considering how they went in the first innings at Brisbane.
All hail Sohail, made his first test half century, but Azhar Ali, gotta love watching him play. Azharo world, that's what we're living in now. He's just so bloody resolute. Never tempted, doesn't do anything silly. He's like, I'm just not going to score a boundary for 6 hours. Don't care, don't need to. That's just showy, it's just flashy. Why do it? I'll just bat for 3 days, in and out of like 400 rain delays with the tail for most of it. My only gripe is he ends on 205 not out, highest score by a visiting batsman on the MCG, 208 by Viv Richards. Would it have killed you to stay out there and score 4 more runs?
Could have got his name on the board here, and the members behind us, a huge Viv Richards 208 placard. It could have said Azhar Ali.
Yes, scrap Viv, get him out. He's had his time's done. You're a man of the past, Viv Richards. Man of the past.
Now, Australia bowl reasonably well at times, especially Josh Hazlewood. Took 3 for 50 from 32 and a half overs, 11 maidens, but brought up his 100th wicket in Test cricket. We barely celebrated it because it was when Pakistan were running off the field declaring their innings closed. But Josh Hazlewood's become not only the informed bowler in this country, but possibly the informed fast bowler in the world.
And I also just love the way he runs up to the crease with like the heaviest footsteps you've ever heard. Thump, thump. There's like glasses of water are going doing. The kids from Jurassic Park are freaking out. But yeah, he's dangerous. He's a giant, dangerous man. What did you say? 3rd tallest fast bowler to take 100 wickets for Australia? There you go.
That's a stat for you. Bruce Reid and Mitchell Starc, the two who are taller than him, who have achieved that milestone. Australia go and bat, and they probably took the attitude that we probably can't win this game unless we really go hard at the total. They were batting on day 3 where over 400 runs were scored. David Warner scored 144 off 143 balls, not without his chances. Wahab Riaz knocked him over on 81 with a glorious in-swinging Yorker at 150 clicks, the stuff you dream of as a kid, but he overstepped. And that changed the momentum of the entire innings.
You've stepped over the mark, Wahab, and we're just going to have to ask you to bowl that ball again. Well, he just does it so much. He did 3 in a row at that point. I don't think David Warner had any thought whatsoever of trying to win a match or set up a win. I think he just went out and went, I can just bat for as long as I want. I can do whatever I want. It doesn't matter. There's no pressure, and I can try to, bump up my average and, make 100. He'd only made 100 this year, and that was right at the start of the year in January in that nonsense game against the West Indies on the last day in Sydney. So, I think he just saw a chance to cash in, and as it happened, it eventually ended up working to the benefit of the team. Yeah,
he bookended his year, David Warner, a century in his first innings and a century in his last in 2016. It was Usman Khawaja. He missed out on 100 in his case. He made 97, the second time he's been dismissed for that total in summer 16-17. Batted beautifully, though, particularly against Yasir Shah, who struggled. He took 3 for 200 and lots. The second time he's gone for 200 runs in an innings, of course, in Manchester earlier in the year when England took to him. But let's talk about Usman Khawaja. He's a senior player in this side now, and it's good to see him finding some form against spin before that Indian tour.
Yeah, he's just, he's smooth, he's creamy, he's caramello Khawaja. He just, turned it on again. 97 twice in a summer, though. Yeah. Like, come on. He's such a bad restarter. It's like, please reset your Khawaja. And then it just doesn't boot, and then you get the hang screen, and there's blue screen of death, and the beach ball spins, and then they puncture the beach ball, and then he nicks one off to first slip.
On day 4, Australia probably had to bat quite conservatively early on to make sure they could ensure that Pakistan couldn't win the game. That was the first job. And the best practitioner of that is one Stephen Devereaux Smith. There's another middle name in there somewhere. Stephen Peter Devereaux Smith, who made 165 not out. But the first 100 of that was very conservative. He didn't do anything silly. He batted principally with Peter Handscomb, made 54. What a doddle test cricket is for Peter Handscomb, by the way. 3 test matches, as you pointed out to me earlier this morning, yet to be dismissed for less than 54. That's the score he made here at the MCG, his home ground for Victoria. And those two managed to get Australia near enough to a first innings lead before a little bit of a jitter in the lower middle order.
Yeah, he was like sort of someone's grandma who discovers meditation in their 60s, and then just suddenly starts to go real wild. Got past the 100, and then started to cut loose. The weird shots started coming out. The sort of flip, like catch up with the ball thing over the shoulder and all the rest of it. But he still ended up not out, and he still ends up with a Test average above 60 again.
Kookaburra's own Peter Hampscombe, we should say as well, given we're going to have him on the video at the end of this, I suspect. Now, after that, Australia's lower middle order, Nick Maddinson, he made 22. He struggled. He got bowled through the gate by Yassir after dancing down the track. Looked a bit ill-considered because it was a slider. Matthew Wade, you want to talk about Matto?
Doesn't use a Kookaburra, does he?
No, well, yeah.
That's why.
This is it, isn't it? If you use a Kookaburra, you're more likely to make runs using a Kookaburra. I'm reliably informed this. Matthew Wade, who may well use a Kookaburra, I'm not entirely sure. He nicked off for 9. He nicked off, and he hasn't made a score in double figures since returning to the Australian Test side. He's under some pressure going into Sydney. Maddinson has actually lost his spot in the side. So, well, basically Hilton Cartwright, who retains his spot in the squad, and they've picked 2 spinners, Stephen O'Keefe and Ashton Agar, to complement Nathan Lyon. But we'll come to all that later. It was the start of the 5th day. Australia led by 22 runs and really were no chance of forcing a result unless they did something remarkable. And that's what Mitchell Starc was able to do with the bat. He came out and plastered 84 alongside Stephen Smith, the big fast bowler, the big left-hander. He hit 7 sixes, which is a record on the MCG. In 108 Test matches played on the MCG, the record for the most sixes in an innings, Mitchell Starc. It's incongruous, but it's a record.
And he had one shot, basically. He just had like the big sort of, I'm going to go over wide, long on, and it's another 6. Just did it again, then he'd miss a couple, then he'd connect with a couple, and away he went. Didn't make the 100, disappointing. But what he did was push the lead up to the point that if Pakistan got bowled out, they were going to lose automatically. They couldn't get in front and set a lead. So they were 181 runs behind, and then that meant they needed to score that 181 to try to set anything for Australia to have to chase, which was going to take more time out of the day. So that became crucial later on, as Pakistan were like, do we defend and block out the overs, or do we try to score the runs and cost Australia some overs that way?
Yeah, in the first instance they tried to defend. Sami Aslam failed again, chopping on to Josh Hazlewood before lunch in that nasty little spell before the long break. And after the break, Australia picked up another wicket straight away. Barbar was caught leg before by Mitchell Starc. A fairly resolute partnership between Yunus Khan and Azhar Ali was broken up by Nathan Lyon, a man under enormous pressure on Friday at the MCG. Newspaper reports saying he was going to lose his spot in the side for Sydney as the principal spinner, and he came out and took 3 wickets in a hurry, confirmed his spot in the side, and played a massive hand in enabling what happened in the afternoon session.
Well, he took 3 in a row, and he got rid of sort of 4, 5 and 6. Asad Shafiq, the key one there as well, the last of those 3 to go, all in that second session, and suddenly they're coming back after tea. They're 5 down. Azhar's still there, just refuses. He'd been batting for Pakistan's entire time at the crease in the Test for that point. He was with Sarfraz Ahmed, but then when Azhar went just after tea to Hazlewood, suddenly it was odds against Pakistan.
Yeah, it took a while for Australia to break through the final 4. Mohammed Amir put on a decent stand there with Sarfraz, and all of a sudden we thought they're going to get the runs. They're going to get to 181, and it's going to require Australia batting again. They might run out of time, but that's when the big fast bowlers came into their own. Initially, it was Jackson Bird, an unheralded fast bowler in many respects as the third wheel alongside Mitchell Starc and Josh Hazlewood, but some superb reverse swing from him, followed up by Mitchell Starc.
Yeah, exactly. Mitchell Starc just polished it off, and they ended up being were they 20 odd short of making Australia bat again? 18 short. So what I was hoping was that they would get, say, 18 in front with about 3 overs left, then lose 2 overs for the innings changeover, and then have a Test cricket super over. David Warner, you've got 6 balls to score, say, 18 or 19 runs. Maybe Smith would have opened the batting with him. Wouldn't that have been like the best way for a Test match ever to end? We
should have been so lucky we weren't, but it was still a pretty interesting day's cricket. Pretty good day to go to work. Australia won by an innings and 18 runs and wrap up the series 2-0. For the record keepers out there, that's only the second time in Test history a side has declared and lost by an innings. That being Pakistan having declared here in Australia, declaring in Hyderabad in 2013. So that gives you a sense of the scale of the task Australia had ahead of them yesterday. They pulled it off. It was a marvellous win. They go to Sydney for a dead rubber. They've changed the squad up, as we said before. A couple of spinners in the mix for what's expected to be a turning track. And then they're off to India after that. For our part, Adam Collins and Geoff Lemon, we always enjoy bringing this video to you for all that cricket and Kookaburra cricket. We'll be back with you at the SCG in about a week.